You know what's funny about polishing? Everybody thinks the machine is the magic. They think once you buy a polisher, suddenly every car is going to come out looking like a mirror. Meanwhile, the first time some people touch a machine, they hold it like it's trying to escape. The machine starts pulling left, right, vibrating, making noises. Now they're fighting for their life with the bonnet. I remember when some people first start polishing, they think more pressure means more shine. My brother, no. Sometimes you're just cooking the paint for absolutely no reason. The machine is there to work with you, not against you. That's why you see professionals looking relaxed while polishing. Beginners look like they're wrestling a crocodile on the hood of the car. And another thing people don't realize, polishing is patience. Social media makes it look like one pass and boom, perfect paint. Meanwhile, in real life, the paint is there saying, you thought it was going to be easy. Swirls still there. Scratches still smiling at you. Holograms waving at you in sunlight. That's why preparation matters more than people think. Sometimes the difference between a clean finish and a disaster is literally just cleaning properly, using the correct pad, and understanding the paint you're working on. Some paint is soft. Some paint fights back like it pays rent. And don't trust every shiny car you see online. Some cars only look good because the camera angle is hiding the damage. Take that same car into sunlight and suddenly the scratches introduce themselves one by one. Sunlight is the biggest snitch in detailing history. You also notice that beginners panic too quickly. The moment the polish dusts a little bit, they think the car is finished. Relax. Every polisher has had moments where they stop, stare at the panel, and pretend they know exactly what they're doing. But one thing about polishing, when you finally get it right, that reflection hits different. You start walking around the car for no reason. You start checking the reflection from different angles like you invented gloss yourself. That's why detailing is addictive. Once you see dead paint come back to life, you keep chasing that finish every single time. Now this is the part everybody waits for. The machine is finally touching the paint. This is where confidence matters because the moment a beginner hears the machine spinning, suddenly they start moving like they're defusing a bomb. And look at Joseph, calm, relaxed, smooth arm movement. That's one thing polishing teaches you. Rushing never gives better results. In fact, rushing is usually how people create more problems than they started with. You'll see somebody moving across the panel at Formula One speed, then later asking why the scratches are still there. Polishing is controlled movement, nice and steady. Let the machine do the work. The biggest mistake beginners make is thinking pressure equals correction. Sometimes too much pressure just overheats the panel and stresses the pad. The polish starts drying too fast, the machine starts sounding angry, and now everything feels rough. Another funny thing? Beginners love lifting the machine while it's still spinning. Then polish flies everywhere. Suddenly the windshield has dots. Your shirt has dots. Even the guy standing 5 meters away somehow got polish on him. And listen carefully to the sound of the machine. Experienced detailers actually pay attention to sound more than people think. You can hear when the pad is happy. You can hear when the polish is drying out. You can even hear when somebody is putting too much pressure on the machine. The machine starts sounding like it's begging for mercy. Now look at the arm speed. That matters a lot. If you move too fast, you're basically just tickling the paint. The polish needs time to work. The abrasives need time to cut properly. That's why professionals overlap their passes slowly and evenly. And here's something most people don't know. A fresh pad cuts harder. A brand new pad can feel aggressive because the fibers or foam haven't softened yet. That's why the first section sometimes feels different compared to later sections. As the pad breaks in, it becomes smoother and more predictable. You also notice Joseph isn't randomly moving all over the place. He's working section by section. That's important. Beginners sometimes polish like they're searching for lost keys. No pattern, no control, just vibes and confusion. And let's talk about heat for a second. Heat can help correction, yes, but too much heat? Problem, especially on edges and body lines. That's why professionals are careful around sharp edges. Paint is usually thinner there. One mistake and now you're learning expensive lessons. Another thing people underestimate is lighting. A panel can look perfect inside the workshop, then sunlight comes out and exposes everything. Sunlight is brutal. It reveals holograms, swirls, missed scratches, everything. That's why real detailers inspect their work from different angles. Now look at the residue. If the polish starts getting dusty too quickly, sometimes that's the environment, sometimes too much product, sometimes the pad is dirty. People think polishing is just machine on, machine off, but there are actually so many tiny details controlling the finish. And speaking of dirty pads, clean your pads, please. Some people polish an entire car with one clogged pad fighting for oxygen. A dirty pad reduces cutting ability, creates extra heat, and can even reintroduce marring into the paint. Meanwhile, the person is blaming the polish. You know what's funny? Every detailer has that one moment where they step back after a pass and pretend they already know the result before wiping. Deep inside, they're nervous, because sometimes the paint humbles you, especially black paint. Black paint will expose your technique immediately. That's why polishing black cars feels like an emotional journey. One minute you're confident. Next minute you're chasing tiny marks you can only see from one specific angle at one specific time of day. And another beginner mistake, using too much polish. Some people put enough compound on the pad to polish 3 trucks and a refrigerator. More product doesn't automatically mean more correction. Sometimes it just creates more mess and reduces pad efficiency. You also have to understand the difference between cutting and finishing. A heavy cutting pass might remove defects fast, but finishing is what creates that deep gloss everybody loves. That clean reflection doesn't just magically appear. Technique matters. Now watch the consistency. Same movement, same pressure, same overlapping passes. Good polishing is actually repetitive in a smart way. Professionals don't chase random movements. They repeat controlled movements until the paint levels correctly. And trust me, patience separates beginners from professionals. Because after 10 minutes, beginners get tired and start speeding up. Professionals stay disciplined all the way through the panel. Another thing nobody talks about, polishing teaches you how different every car is. Some paints correct easily. Some paints behave like concrete. You can use the exact same pad and polish combo on 2 cars and get completely different results. That's why testing spots matter. Smart detailers test small areas first before attacking the whole car. Imagine polishing an entire bonnet only to realize your combo wasn't correcting properly. Pain. And don't ignore the edges of the pad either. A tilted machine can create uneven correction. That's why balance matters. You want the pad rotating properly and staying controlled on the surface. Now this part right here is satisfying. Slowly watching the gloss build up, seeing the clarity improve. That's the addictive part of detailing. Once you experience that transformation in person, you start noticing paint quality on every single car you see in traffic. Suddenly you're walking through parking lots, inspecting reflections like a paint detective. And by the way, polishing isn't about making the car perfect. Even professionals know perfection is difficult. It's about improving the finish safely while maximizing gloss and clarity. That's why experienced detailers respect the paint. Every time you polish, you're removing a tiny amount of clear coat. So smart correction matters more than aggressive correction. And look at the reflection starting to sharpen now. That's the reward for proper technique. Nice controlled passes, patience, proper pad management, proper pressure. It all adds up. Honestly, this is why detailing content is so satisfying to watch. You literally watch tired paint wake up again, dull surfaces become glossy, scratched panels start reflecting clearly again. It's almost like restoring confidence to the car. And somewhere out there right now, there's still a beginner holding a rotary polisher for dear life, while the machine tries to pull them into another dimension. But every professional started there. Always use a clean microfiber towel here. A dirty towel after polishing is basically betrayal. Imagine spending all that time correcting the paint just to reintroduce scratches during the wipe down. Pain. And don't wipe aggressively either. Nice and soft, let the towel glide across the surface. The goal is to reveal the finish, not fight the bonnet like it owes you money. Now watch this reflection sharpen up. That gloss is starting to wake up properly. Now we're loading the panel again for another pass. And this is where beginners make one funny mistake. They either use way too much polish or absolutely nothing. There's no in-between. You don't need half the bottle on the bonnet. The polish still has to work properly with the pad. Too much product can actually reduce correction and create extra mess everywhere. And placement matters too. Spread the polish properly so the pad works evenly across the surface. Because once the machine starts spinning, there's no mercy for lazy preparation. This part might look simple, but good polishing always starts with good setup. Now this is the second polishing pass, and this is usually where the real character of the paint starts showing itself. The first pass removes a lot of the obvious defects, but the second pass, that's where you start chasing clarity, depth, and refinement. And look at Joseph. Smooth movement, relaxed posture, that's experience. Because beginners during a second pass usually become overconfident. The first pass goes well, now suddenly they think they're paint surgeons. That's when mistakes arrive. One thing people don't realize is that polishing is all about reading the paint. The paint literally tells you what it wants. Some sections correct quickly, other sections fight back like they're personally offended by the machine. And this second pass is important because now you can really focus on consistency, same arm speed, same overlap, same pressure, controlled movement across the panel, because random polishing gives random results. You'll see beginners moving the machine in every direction except the correct one. At that point, the pad is confused, the polish is confused, even the car is confused. And another thing, notice how the machine is staying balanced on the surface. That matters a lot. Tilting the machine too much can create uneven correction or even holograms, especially if somebody's using a rotary. People think polishing is just machine on paint. Nah, there's technique behind this. And let's talk about pressure again, because beginners love pressure. They think if the scratches aren't leaving fast enough, the solution is to push harder, like they're trying to bench press the bonnet. Meanwhile, the pad is overheating, the polish is drying, the machine is struggling, and the paint is somewhere crying quietly. The machine and polish are designed to work together. Your job is control, not violence. Now this second pass usually feels smoother than the first one because the pad is warmed up properly and the surface is already improving. The machine starts gliding more evenly, especially once defects are reduced. That's also why detailing is satisfying. You can actually feel the difference while polishing. Experienced detailers notice when the paint starts smoothing out under the pad. And another thing beginners don't understand, polishing pads need maintenance during the job. If the pad gets clogged with spent polish and paint residue, correction changes completely. The pad stops cutting properly, generates more heat, and can even start marring the surface again. That's why professionals clean pads often instead of pretending the pad has infinite energy. Now look closely at the section Joseph is working. Notice how he's not trying to polish the entire bonnet at once. Smart detailers work section by section because you need focus and consistency. Some beginners try to attack the whole panel like they're mowing grass. Then later they wonder why the finish looks uneven. And honestly, polishing teaches patience better than school sometimes. Because the paint rewards discipline. You can't rush refinement. The moment you get impatient, defects start surviving the process. And speaking of defects, some scratches don't fully disappear safely. And that's important to understand. Not every scratch should be aggressively removed. Smart polishing is about improving the finish while protecting the clear coat. Some people chase perfection so hard they forget the paint still needs to exist afterward. Now here's something funny. The longer somebody details cars, the more dramatic they become about lighting. Suddenly they're carrying inspection lights everywhere, checking reflections from 5 angles like detectives solving a crime scene. Because lighting changes everything. A finish that looks beautiful under workshop lights might show holograms outside in direct sunlight. That's why experienced detailers inspect constantly instead of blindly trusting one light source. And another thing I noticed, polishing changes how people touch cars. Once somebody starts detailing seriously, they stop wiping paint carelessly. They start folding microfiber towels properly. They start panicking when somebody leans against the car with jeans. You become protective over paint, especially after spending hours correcting it. Now this second pass right here is where gloss really starts building up properly. The reflection becomes cleaner, sharper, deeper. That's the reward for controlled polishing. And honestly, dark paint, when polished correctly, looks unreal. The reflections become so sharp you start seeing everything in the panel. That's also why dark paint exposes bad technique immediately. There's nowhere to hide. One thing I respect about good detailers is consistency. Anybody can make one section look good for social media. Professionals maintain quality across the whole vehicle. That takes patience. And let's talk about speed settings for a second. Beginners either run the machine too slow or they immediately jump to maximum speed like they're trying to launch a helicopter. Machine speed should match the job. Sometimes slower speeds help spreading product. Higher speeds help correction. But balance matters because heat management matters too. Everything in polishing connects together. Pad choice, polish choice, machine movement, pressure, speed, heat, lighting. That's why detailing is deeper than people think. Now, another funny thing. After a while, detailers start becoming obsessed with reflections. You'll catch them staring at doors, bonnets, and fenders from weird angles just to admire the gloss. And if somebody touches the paint after correction, instant heartbreak, because polishing takes effort. You know what else beginners struggle with? Edges. Everybody feels confident in the middle of the panel. Then the body lines arrive and suddenly the machine handling changes completely. That's why smooth control matters, especially around tighter areas where heat can build faster. Watching tired paint slowly transform into deep gloss never gets old. And the funny part is, after polishing one section successfully, detailers suddenly become philosophers. They start walking around the car quietly admiring reflections like they just restored world peace. But honestly, moments like this are rewarding. Seeing a neglected surface wake up again is why people fall in love with detailing in the first place. And this second pass right here, this is where the finish starts separating itself from average work.